ECU?
Do you bleed purple and gold?
Are you ready to hoist the colors?
Hoist the colors!
It's time for the most in-depth look into the world of ECU athletics. Welcome to Hoist the Colors with your host, Stephen Igo on 94.3 The Game.
Watch the show live on Facebook
and at 943thegame.com. Here's Stephen Igo.
Welcome in. It is Hoist the Colors on a Thursday, March 5th. Statement week has begun for ECU baseball, and it starts with a W. They get a 5-3 win at UNCW last night on the road. Now they head to Coastal Carolina. They're staying on the road as they go this weekend down to Conway, a place that Pirate fans have become quite familiar with over the last calendar year. You had the regional in Conway last year. After ECU hosted Coastal Carolina during the regular season, the Pirate football team played at Conway last fall, won that game in dominant fashion, and now ECU baseball going back. So 3 trips to Conway for major ECU sports teams in the past year. Philip Pilkington and I will be down there this weekend. We haven't really talked about this on the air a whole lot. Philip is our producer today. We'll get more into that here in a second. Also, Mike Mullis going to join a segment too. We'll talk ECU basketball, ECU baseball. But Philip, are you ready for a little bit of a road trip? Not that we'll be riding together, but we will be staying together, and I'm excited.
I am too. It's going to be nice just to kind of get away for the weekend, be relaxing, get down there, catch some baseball, knock on wood. Weather's supposed to be pretty good. Man, it will be nice, I'm just kind of looking forward to change scenery. We'll get to see the beach. Probably won't be probably a little chilly still to go out in it, but hey, there's some restaurants near where we're staying that are right there kind of on the water. We can still sit back, feel that ocean air and ocean mist coming off. It'll be nice.
It'll be some good weather for baseball, and maybe we'll see a few home runs. If you look at Coastal and ECU, not many home runs hit early in the season by either team. I broke that down on the Carolina Curveball podcast last night. You can check that out, Carolina Curveball, Casey Ramaley and those guys. But the way the ball flies out of there when it warms up, we'll see if there's any more home runs this weekend. But we'll dive more into that matchup over our next show on Friday before we hit the road to Conway. All right, East Carolina wins at UNC Wilmington. It's never easy at Brooks Field. And last night, it wasn't easy to close them out. Things got a little interesting in the ninth, but the Pirates win it 5-3. Pirates finished with 11 hits. They leave 10 on base. Really could have put the game, or at least put some separation on the board early after a 2-spot in the third inning. But I thought overall the offense was productive. Again, they're not, hitting the ball at the ballpark right now consistently. They did have a few warning track flyouts. Grady Linehan was really close to hitting a couple of home runs. Instead, settled for a sac fly on 2 occasions. But you had Braden Burst with 2 hits, Linehan with 2 RBIs, Austin Irby 2 for 5, Colby Wallace, another multi-hit game, 2 for 3, Walker Barron 2 for 4 with an RBI single. And then on the mound, Ryan Towers starts in a predetermined opener role, goes a scoreless inning. They go to Joe Webb in the second. And I have to imagine this was probably at most 1-2 innings slotted for Joseph Webb to throw the baseball. He goes 4 innings, really 4+ because he started his 5th inning of work, didn't get an out. And just phenomenal work, though, overall. 1 run allowed, 5 Ks, 1 walk, 2 hits. Sean Jenkins was Sean Jenkins, 3 scoreless innings, 2 hits allowed, 1 K, 29 pitches. And then the ninth, Brett Antolik comes in, which I like this. We'll get more into this in a minute. An inning pitched, 2 runs, 3 hits, gave up a cheap infield single. It kind of unraveled from there, but he bounced back, got the double play, then the swinging strikeout to end the game. So great mound work, clean defense overall by ECU, and just a solid midweek win.
It was. The one thing, Antolik didn't quite look like himself there for a little bit of it. Like I said, there was the weekend field single. There was a couple hard hit ones. I wonder with Antolik, this was his first outing of the season in which he was not used as an opener. And, Coach Godwin mentioned that when he gets hot, he's got to throw just based off coming off the injury. I wonder, hindsight's 20/20, but for now, as long as he's in that scenario, maybe he should only be used as an opener so he knows exactly when it is that he is going out there. There was a time, I was talking to Coach O and Dylan Johnson between breaks where Sean got in a little trouble, and it was like I was like, okay, is there movement in the bullpen? And there's like, yeah, but there's not really anybody throwing. But this guy, and this guy had thrown earlier. So I don't know if it was one of those deals where he got hot, thinking he was going to come in a little earlier. Probably was starting to even stretch and toss when Joe Webb was out there. Like I said, he went longer than we thought. I just kind of wonder, was it one of those things where it wasn't as smooth of a transition? Like I said, he didn't pitch bad, but compared to what he had done, he didn't pitch great either. Maybe he should be an opener only for now until he's kind of what I would call a normal pitcher, which he's clearly not still with that hip injury.
So he did. I do want to say he did come in the ninth against the Western Carolina game. He did pitch the ninth.
Oh, he
and
did.
looked
That's
really
right,
sharp.
that's right.
Yeah.
Okay. Yep.
So I would say, the one thing I do like about it is you need somebody besides Sean Jenkins able to get the final three outs. I do agree he didn't look sharp, but I also think maybe if that play is made on the slow chopper to begin the inning, how much different does the inning go?
Yeah.
So I'm kind of glad that he stayed. I'm glad they left him in, Philip, because like how many times have we seen, all right, things are starting to unravel, let's just go to the next guy, and they let him work his way out of it. Like it wasn't pretty, but to me, like to be a back end guy, you're going to have to work through some adversity, hostile environment, and I kind of like that he was able to finish it, even though, ideally he goes 1, 2, 3, punch out, punch out, but to me, like you need to kind of go through that to be a closer. And who knows? Like you said, who knows? Maybe it's easier to make him an opener with the restrictions right now and involved with warming him up. But I just think they need to develop some more trustworthy arms. And I think ultimately getting the final out will start to lead down that path, hopefully.
Yeah, you're right. Because like you said, right now Sean's the only true guy you feel at the end of that. Gavin Marley's been put in that situation, I think, once, but I think the lead was a lot bigger. When he was put in that situation. There's been some other guys, but again, you're thinking like some of ththese guys, it's even been like, hey, finish off the mercy rule kind of deal. So that is totally a different situation. I think you're right. Like you've got to trust guys at the back end, and pitching with traffic is different than pitching clean. And I wouldn't say anybody can go out there and pitch clean, but it's a heck of a lot easier when it's just you and the batter and there's nothing else you got to worry about, a 4-run lead and all those things. But twice, tying run comes to the plate in that inning, and twice he gets out of it. One time with a ground ball double play that actually did not only eliminate the tying run being at the plate, but then reverted the tying run back to the on-deck circle. And then there on the last AB of the game, that was the tying run that was at the plate as well.
A couple more things on the pinching front. I know we said we ideally didn't want to see Sean Jenkins in this game, and I think that's fair. We also know Cliff Godwin is going to play to win every game, one game at a time. I do think it is a significant factor that when he came in the sixth, I was worried. I was worried he was going to have to go the rest of the way and go 50, 60 pitches. He goes 29 pitches. He can come back Friday now. He went 3 innings, but 29 pitches on a full day's rest.
Oh, he'd be hot today if we were playing a game.
So, like that, I think that's critical.
Yeah, that is. And that's the thing. And that's what I was worried about, too. When we had the conversation yesterday with James, we were trying to lay out who was going to pitch. It was like, well, if Sean goes out there and throws 3 or 4 innings, which we thought he would, which he did, that meant, you can even throw an efficient 45 pitches in 3 innings and still, only let up a base run or two if a couple guys are able to work some counts on you. If you told me how many pitches would he throw in 3 innings of work, I would have guessed at least 35, but probably closer to that 45 range. To do that in 29, it shows you how efficient he's able to work right now. And that was very critical in the fact that, again, he would be hot today. If they were playing a noon game today, he'd be hot.
No doubt. We talked about the importance of Joseph Webb, and look, ECU needs him at some point to become a leverage arm. And last night, I think it was just kind of determined going in. We're going to get him in the game early, less pressure situation. He's going to, hopefully just pitch well. And, he pitched better than they probably could have imagined. And, by the way, we said in the preseason, how long would Joseph Webb go calling his own pitches if he struggled early? Well, we now know the answer because last night he was not calling his own pitches. And, I just think getting on the mound and throwing what you're told to throw, I'm sure he still has the right to and the authority to shake off if he wants to go through a pitch or two, but Now he's just getting it and pitching it, and I think it showed last night.
I think so. Changed his arm slot a little bit last night, too. I think that was very crucial. Coach O mentioned that continuously on the broadcast because it really was something that was very efficient for him. And, yeah, this is one less thing you got to worry about. When it's tough to call it. Dude, it's tough to call a game from the damn dugout when your whole job is to call a game, man. Baseball ain't easy. Anybody who says it is just doesn't know the ins and outs of how complicated it really is. You don't want a guy to see a similar pitch to what he, squared up in his last AB, whether he was facing you or facing another pitcher. So, yeah, sometimes you just go out there and play. It's just like the quarterback. Just you call the plays. Not every quarterback's got to be Peyton Manning and call his own plays, and you just let him throw the football.
CBA in the chat says another bullpen day for Jenkins. They seem to be managing him better than they have with Danny Bill and Wyatt Lunsford-Shinkman the last couple of years.
It's early.
It is very early. And Kenny says good midweek win. UNCW is always a thorn in the side. Definitely are. Anything stand out to you offensively last night? I mean, I just felt like they had solid ABs for the most part, throughout the lineup. And I know Vogely took another offer. Again, he hit the ball hard a couple times, didn't have anything to show for it. Lashley, his first 0 for 4. But I thought for the most part it was a pretty solid night offensively.
That's what I was going to bring up was the Vogely thing. 0 for 5, but I think 3 of those balls, if I remember correctly, were squared up really well, and he just hit them right at somebody. Like, the approach of this team, top to bottom, the approaches are really well, and sometimes you just get crap luck, and it doesn't, it was tough for me to tell, but, he struggled even late last weekend. It doesn't seem like his body language is changing. It doesn't seem like he's down on himself. He knows he's seeing the ball well. And that speaks to the maturity of him, and it speaks to this coaching staff. And it was the same thing with Colby, man. When Colby was going through this, I remember I walked up to the stands with some friends on it was either Friday or Saturday, and one of my friends was like, man, if Colby can barrel one up, he'll be all right. Sure enough, he barrels it up in that AB, and that's the day he went 3 for 4. And his one out was still a screamer at the center fielder. Like, it's all it takes. And I just think the mindset of this hitting group right now, even for the guys who are not producing in the box score, are still have really good approaches.
11 hits again and 10 left on base. ECU continues to get on base at a very high rate, and I still think the power number is going to come around. We'll talk about that in a little bit with Mike Mullis when he joins us here shortly. But, I want to see some more right-handed hitting develop, and we did, that Vogely kind of goes with that. But I also think it was good to see Braden Bachman, the freshman right-handed hitter, come off the bench double late. That led to some big insurance runs. I still think we're going to see Hakame, because I feel like you're not super lefty heavy, but with Irby, Lashley, Whitaker starting last night against a lefty starter, I thought that at times kind of hurt you a little bit. Herron's weaker from the right side, so I just want to see another right-handed bat emerge. But I think maybe we'll get there, or whether it's Bachman, whether it's Hakame, whether it's moving Burris to left field to play Hakame at second, I don't know, but I think at some point.
That's what I think it is. Yeah. I think in a perfect world, Whitaker would start against righties. Or sorry, against lefty. He's left-handed, so against righties. And then when you would see a lefty, you would start Hakame at second, move Braden to third like you did there at the end of the game. And then, you still wonder, how much we're going to see of Sabater. He was hurt or sick, excuse me. And he pinch ran last night. I thought he was going to be a defensive sub, but they ended up going to Hakame. So there's still a lot of moving parts. And, heck, what are we, 13 games into this thing, I think? So not even a quarter away into the season yet.
Peltier, Boucher still coming back, so those are 2 more right-handed bat options as well. All right, let's get a break in. We'll come back. We'll be joined by Mike Mullis via the phone. We'll get his take on the game last night, the Pirates' last week of action or so, and also look ahead to Coastal Carolina. Mike Mullis joins us next.
You know what the problem is with standard belts? Usually you have to choose between too tight or the opposite, too loose. But with Anson Belt and Buckle, you don't have to choose. We got rid of the holes and instead have a track system designed for micro-adjustability. That way you can enjoy a perfect fit every time. Anson Belt and Buckle. Find your perfect fit today.
Health Healthwise Pharmacy rounds the bases with all of your infusion, retail, compounding, and medical equipment needs. Locally owned and operated by pharmacist Marcy Parker, Healthwise has grown to be your most trusted provider for infusion services. Currently providing in-home or on-site infusions in North Carolina, South Carolina, and Virginia. Visit Healthwise Pharmacy at 615B South Memorial Drive or call 252-295-0059 to speak to a patient service representative to find the option that best suits your needs.
The best burgers around. Everyone loves a thick, juicy, and fresh burger. Tiebreakers does real burgers better than anybody. And don't forget about the cheese sticks, fresh salads, and more. So don't just go to any burger-themed restaurant chain. It's time to break the chain and eat local. Tiebreakers, burgers and sports at its best.
Go Pirates! Arrgh!
In this age of globalization, we've learned that bigger isn't always better. Ever tried to get phone help from a big corporation from a real person? Right. That's what's so nice about Phelps Chevrolet. After more than 50 years serving our community, Phelps remains family-owned and operated. Mike, Daryl, Wave, West, Alan, and Clay deliver hometown service and integrity, same as always. They share your experience, they share your values, and they are ready to help with any motoring need. Come get you one.
Daughtridge Gas and Oil has been your dependable propane supplier for 95 years. Their trained technicians can service and properly install all your propane and natural gas appliances. Plus, Daughtridge Gas and Oil is your backyard expert with fire pits, grills, smokers, and more, including quality outdoor furniture at their Greenville Patio and Hearth Shop at 1901 Charles Boulevard. Go by and see the knowledgeable staff at Daughtridge Gas and Oil for propane delivery or call 756-1345.
You have a choice when you invest in insurance, and when you choose First State Insurance Advisors, you're working with people you can trust. Clark Stallings has deep ties in the community. His team, including Keaton Smith, Regina Asby, Phil Leyva, Max Joyner Jr., Max Joyner III, and Ginger Smith, provides knowledgeable and professional advice. First State Insurance Advisors is an independent insurance agency. They offer all types of personal insurance as well as various types for business. Call or email First State Insurance Advisors today. We want to be your trusted choice.
The Pirates play here. Arr! This is Hoist the Colors Radio with Stephen Igo.
Yes! That was so good!
On 94.3, The Game.
All right, welcome back in. It is Hoist the Colors on a Thursday. We're working on getting Mike Mullis on, having some issues with the phone, so we'll keep trying him. Philip Hooking producing. And a couple things from yesterday on the baseball front. As Kenny Curlin points out, Western Carolina might be for real. They've had some big wins over some good teams. Yeah, Western Carolina, who obviously beat ECU 2-0 in the Keith LeClaire Classic finale, won yesterday at Georgia. And this was an insane game. You had Western and Georgia kind of go back and forth all game. Western leads, I believe, 6-4 going into the bottom of the eighth. Georgia ranked as high as number 8, by the way. Dogs hit a go-ahead grand slam in the bottom of the eighth. Western Carolina comes back in the ninth with 2 outs. Hits a go-ahead grand slam in the top of the ninth. And then looks like they're about to blow it in the bottom of the ninth. Georgia appears to tie the game on a throwing error at 10-10, but they go back, review it. It's overturned. Western Carolina wins. So, yeah, credit to the Catamounts, who are now 9-3. They have swept Georgia Washington. They've won 2 out of 3 over Bowling Green. They won 2 at the LeClaire Classic, and then they beat Georgia. They play Charlotte this weekend for 3 games. We'll see how that goes. They also, yes, that is this weekend. They also play Radford. So they've got 4 games at Charlotte, 2 against Radford, 2 against Charlotte. We'll see kind of what that holds for them. But they're off to a very good start and will be, I think, a contender in the SoCon. LSU also got beat last night as well. So midweek madness. It's chaos. You know, something else I'm curious, and I'll ask Mike Mullis about this in a second. With Sean Jenkins throwing so little last night, does ECU try and throw him twice this weekend, depending on the situations? I guess it depends how far the starters go. If they go as lengthy as last week, it may be unnecessary to do it. Maybe just throw him once, maybe just throw him twice. We'll ask that to Mike Mullis and more. I believe we got Mully on. Mike, you with us? You hear us?
I'm here, buddy. I apologize. I don't know. I was in a building that may have been causing us issues or whatever, but we got it figured out.
All good, my friend. All good. Appreciate you taking some time to join us. And look, Pirates are playing some pretty good baseball right now. We'll dive into the Coastal Series here in a minute, but they win last night 5-3 at Wilmington. Yeah, they were 3-1 last week. Just what do you make of this recent surge by ECU?
I don't think it's a surge. I think this is what we should expect. And I get what you're saying, obviously playing much better, but I think it's just pretty solid baseball. Even if you go back to the Western loss, and I know that Coach Godwin wasn't particularly excited after the loss, but man, I mean, Western probably played better than they're capable of playing unless they turn around and beat Georgia like they did. But I mean, that just goes to show you Western's not a bad ball team, and they made several great plays. The left-hander they threw was really good. I thought the Pirates put together pretty quality at bats. I do understand what his sentiment was. Maybe it got a little bit loose there at the end of the game, but you pitched away into a position to win, and again, Western made several, as CG said, web gems, and that's that. It just kind of happens.
East Carolina now 7-5-1 on the season. Last night, Mully, we saw the pitching really thrive, and it got a little interesting late. But I want to ask you about Joseph Webb in particular. 4 innings, 5 Ks, 1 walk, and I noticed watching the stream on Flow Sports that he was no longer calling his own game. He was just getting it and throwing it based on what the coaches told him and what was relayed to him. So it just seemed like they simplified it and the results came. And maybe it's that simple. Maybe there's more to it. But what'd you make of that? Because they need Joseph Webb to be a good bullpen arm for this pitching staff to continue to round into form.
I'm going to tell you, man, it was after some of the previous outings he's had. It was last night. You got a chance to see what the staff has seen and has kind of raved about early in the, kind of in the preseason. So that's a huge piece. And again, when you look at the fact that, if you get Webb to where he's that reliable guy, and then you obviously have Sean Jenkins, who everybody feels great about, and not real sure where Antolik's going to land. Is he going to be on the front end or the back end? I mean, if you've got those kind of arms coming out of your pen, you got to feel good about it if Webb can continue to do, to improve. And that's not to discredit Ethan Rose and specifically him. I mean, there are options down there. They've got a couple left-handed options with Moran and Hoagland. I mean, you got to feel good about where the pitching staff is, and you can see this offense more or less finding an identity.
Mike Mullis with us, ECU ESPN Plus analyst. So, question for you from a pitching perspective. I was going to bring this up with Phil, but I asked you as well. Sean Jenkins, he throws 29 pitches last night. Is this series at Coastal, is it big enough to warrant throwing him twice this weekend, if possible? Obviously, a lot depends on the pitch count, the situations, etc. But do you think that's too much to ask this early in the season 3 times in a span of 5 days, or is this series big enough to where if you got a chance to win, let's say Friday and then Sunday, and you need a top bullpen arm in the 7th, 8th inning, do you go to Jenkins both times? Is that fair if it's possible?
Yeah, I'm going to give you the non-answer. The non-answer is depends on how we get into those positions, depends on what how taxing those spots are. If he goes 2 short, quick innings on Friday, keeps his pitch count down to, maybe no more than 35, let's say, which would be, extremely efficient, then sure, I think you run him back out Sunday. If he goes into a high leverage situation and he even throws, kind of gets bottled up in one inning and it gets sideways on him, then I don't know that you bring him back. I think it's really very, kind of situationally specific. And I don't know that it's all based off of Coastal and as you're saying, the kind of the scope or magnitude of the weekend. I think that's going to be the staff's mindset regardless of who they're playing. So I mean, yeah, it's a great weekend. It's a bigger weekend, especially non-conference wise. But I don't know that I don't know that you can win it right here as far as putting yourself in a position to, absolutely host a region. I don't know that there's that many absolute ramifications that come out of this weekend. Obviously, you want to go down there and win 2 or 3. That'll look great. If you go down and play well and only come away with 1, I don't think it kills you.
ECU offensively through 13 games, Mully. Pirates hitting .292 with a .784 OPS. The number that sticks out to me most, even after a somewhat high strikeout game for this offensive standards last night with 9 Ks. They've still only K'd 71 times, and they've gotten on base 65 times via a walk or hit by pitch. I mean, that's a pretty elite ratio. Now, they're not hitting for a lot of power, just 7 home runs. I think maybe we'll see that come as the weather warms up. So is this going to be this offense right now, an on base kind of grinded out offense? What do you make of this group?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's what you've got until Vogel gets a few balls in the air, until Irby gets a few more balls in the air. Colby Wallace kind of seems like he's maybe figuring some things out. He's another guy that if he could get it in the air, Boucher. So, I mean, until those guys get going, that kind of represents the bulk of the pop. I mean, we've obviously seen everybody's All-American Linehan do his thing, and he's hit the balls really, really hard and has a couple home runs to show for it. But I think right now, man, you home runs are accidents. It's keep putting together solid at bats and finding the barrel more times than not, and ultimately, if the ball gets elevated, then it'll give you a chance. So, and again, man, the ballparks are going to start playing a little different, as you said, when we get a little warmer temperatures, and so I mean, I think you'll see. And again, going into the season, man, I didn't feel like this team was going to be a prodigious power team. I kind of felt like, it would be maybe 65 home run team, something like that. So, still plenty of time to get there. And look, we've seen Irby get hot and start hitting them in buckets. So, I think there's plenty of time to still kind of, again, let these guys find their identity.
It feels like obviously Whitaker's gotten most of the reps and left recently, Mully, but it feels like that is still maybe a little unsettled, that position, so to speak. Obviously, if you had Braxton Trammell healthy, he may be out there in some form with another power bat. But is there a guy or two, whether it's like a Hakame, a Sabater, Boucher, Peltier, like that you expect to have, another crack at it or more reps as this thing kind of gets going?
Yeah, I mean, the guy to me that's conspicuously absent is Peltier, and he's kind of still nursing his way back to health. And you look for little things in pregame, and I started noticing, okay, he's got both wrist tape. Okay, does that mean that, he's getting closer to going, but you still see him, he'll have the stem unit on, and it looks like they're still kind of working through that. But I think that's a guy that gives you a look out there. In answer to your overall question, man, I think Hakame is a guy that in this conference last year hit better than 300. I think it's just a matter of him, kind of finding his stride and kind of, figuring out, what he needs to be at the plate for this team to have success. And, it becomes interesting if Hakame goes into the lineup at second base and you could push Burris to left or however they see fit to juggle that. That probably would be what they would prefer. Obviously, Braxton Trammell, that one ain't going to happen. But just from an offensive standpoint, it'd be awesome to have him. But I still think it's not the lineup that we're going to see, come the end of the season. But at the same time, it's kind of standard CG practices that he's going to go the hot hand. He's going to go the matchup. So I think you'll see these guys. And look, Gavin Whitaker's done. It seems like a really good job at the plate at times, and then he has some at bats that you're less than enamored with. But he's done a nice job, largely in two-strike situations. He's done a nice job, just kind of finding ways to make things happen. Not the greatest effort last night, but it's that's a little recency bias as far as his overall performance.
Mike Mullis, ECU ESPN Plus analyst, with us. It'll be a rematch of the Conway Regional Final this weekend. 6 o'clock first pitch Friday, scheduled for 2 o'clock on Saturday, and I believe 1 o'clock on Sunday in Conway. And Coastal is 7-5. We know they're banged up on the mound. Offensively, too, looking at their numbers, they are underperforming at this point, which kind of scares you that maybe some of these guys like Blake Barthol, Colby Thorndike get it going this weekend. ECU hopes it's after that. What do you make of this series going into it? ECU, the more healthy team, but it's still Coastal, the defending national runner-up at home. You know they're going to bring it as well, Mully.
No, man, and I think you said a mouthful as it relates to their offense. Yeah, it's pretty well documented that they're banged up on the mound, but they're still very capable on the mound. Big win over Ole Miss down in Texas. They've had some good wins, but what you said about their offense, at some point, that crowd's going to find a stride, and when they do find it, you don't want to be there to watch it if you're in the opposing dugout. That's a team that is kind of a multi-headed monster. They have some pop. They don't mind swinging hard and looking to try to drive you out of the park, but they can run. They can do very athletic. They can do some different things. So I think it's going to be a really solid test for the pitching staff to keep Coastal at bay offensively. And then I think, it's a matter of if East Carolina can, again, put together the quality at bats, extend ABs, make those guys throw pitches, I think the Pirates can have success against the bullpen side for Coastal because they are just kind of depleted. So, hey, look, man, I like the Pirates' chances going down there and winning that series. I think it's going to be a really fun series to watch. I've been looking forward to this. I enjoyed, if we look back to last year, and Coastal has nightmares of what Ethan Norby did to them last year at Clark LeClaire Stadium. So, that'll be interesting to see if Norby, again, his last outing was markedly better, but it still wasn't as sharp as we maybe. I mean, of course, the game he had against Coastal last year, I don't know if anybody could replicate that. But if he could round back into that form, man, it makes Friday night really interesting. And again, I'm sure that Coastal, they still have the scouting report. They've done a great job of preparing. So I think it builds out to be a really good series.
Yeah, Mully, just to pick your baseball brain, I'm fascinated going into Friday. Obviously, Coastal has started Luke Jones as their number one since Flukie went down. He's a solid pitcher. I would think ECU's got the advantage with Norby on the mound, but they offensively, I mean, they strike out a lot, but they also walk a lot. They work a lot of deep at bats, and teams have seemed to kind of jump on Norby early in counts because he's a strike thrower. I'm curious to see what Coastal's approach is because last year they were kind of patient early and then that backfired. So, do they come out swinging, hunting the fastball early? Are you kind of fascinated to see that matchup?
I think they are by philosophy. They're an aggressive offense. Now, you're right. Last year they kind of tried to wait him out, and I think the thought was, well, there's no way he could be this good for this, for the entirety of the game. And once he kind of falls off, we'll take advantage. But I think it's going to be. I think you're going to see them do a really good job of making Norby pitch with the rhythm that they want to try to dictate as much as the pitch clock will allow. Norby's going to have that breaking ball. He's going to have to be able to land that with regularity to have success against the Coastal team. They are a team that likes to get the ball in the air. That they're not afraid to kind of go toe to toe. And again, they're struggling for an identity. So it'll be interesting to see how it shakes out with them. But I do think that the matchup on Friday will dictate a lot.
All right, final question for you, Mully. I posed this question to the guys on the Carolina Curveball podcast last night and got some split answers. I asked, who is the series more important for, ECU or Coastal? Because you look at it, Coastal is in the Sun Belt, which is a good baseball league, but they do not play Southern Miss, and they don't play Troy. They don't play some of the top teams in the league during the regular season. Then you have ECU, which obviously this is a marquee series. They do have UTSA later on. But you also have the fact that Coastal's banged up, and maybe the committee gives them grace as a result. So do you feel like either side has a fair or a stronger argument that this series is more important for them to win going in?
I think there's a different level of urgency for Coastal from the standpoint of they're not what they thought they were going to be coming in, and maybe urgency isn't the right word. It's maybe it's more like survival. That they want to come out, play well, have a chance to win the series. So I think that's kind of what the lights their fire. For East Carolina, I think it's a matter of just keep playing good, right? And so whatever happens. Put together complete games, take care of the baseball. So I mean, I think there's reasons on each side that you're right. That makes this a great question. Like who is there a true more urgent situation? I don't know. I think both these teams are very similar. They're kind of going in different directions from a standpoint of, again, Coastal brought back so much offensively, but they're really banged up where they thought they were going to be super solid. Matter of fact, you listen to anybody, all the baseball writers talk. The reason they were ranked as high as 6th in the country was the calls of that pitching staff. Now that pitching staff's not there, and they're a lot more of a maybe top 20, maybe even 25 team. So, yeah, that's a great question. Again, I'm giving you a non-answer. I think there's reasons for both teams to have a sense of urgency about what they do, but I don't know that at the end of the day, the paths may end up being the same. It may be a conference tournament win because, again, both conferences are bucking for multi-bid, situations. Who knows if they'll get there? So I think that when the urgency sets in is when it's in conference.
All right, Mike Mullis with us, ECU, ESPN Plus analyst. Are you doing the Dugouts show from Tiebreakers, the Dugout get-together from Tiebreakers this weekend at all?
Yeah, we're going to do Friday and Sunday. We're not going to do Saturday because of the Duke and Carolina basketball game being played at the same time and probably be a little bit much, in the building there. But we're going to do Friday. We'll start, first pitch, 6 o'clock. And actually we will have head football coach Blake Harrell will be our guest right along with us. And then Sunday we'll go 2 o'clock first pitch, and we will have the mayor, P.J. Conley, will be our guest. So some good folks coming to hang out with us, and it'll be a big time. I would suggest that if anybody plans to come, they may reach out to Tiebreakers and probably get themselves a reservation. We've had a ton of feedback on people that are looking forward to this weekend.
Big time stuff and big time guests, Molly. That's awesome, man. So everybody check that out. And hey, appreciate the insight as always. We'll see you soon, Molly. Appreciate it, man.
Okay, buddy. Talk to you guys soon.
That is Mike Mullis, ECU ESPN Plus analyst. Should be a fun weekend of baseball. East Carolina at Coastal Carolina this weekend. All right, let's get a break in. We'll come back. Pirate basketball is in action tonight. There actually was a result in the conference last night that could help them make the conference tournament. We'll break that down. Also talk about what they need to do to take out Tulsa, which is one of the top teams in the league. That is next.
This is about you, your family, and the health of all who live in Eastern North Carolina. This is about the transformation of a health system into something more powerful and more human, about creating new ways to treat disease and keep you well. This is about ECU Health, which is to say, it's really all about you. ECU Health. Minds, hearts, purpose.
You have a choice when you invest in insurance, and when you choose First State Insurance Advisors, you're working with people you can trust. Clark Stallings has deep ties in the community. His team, including Keaton Smith, Regina Asby, Phil Leyva, Max Joyner Jr., Max Joyner III, and Ginger Smith, provides knowledgeable and professional advice. First State Insurance Advisors is an independent insurance agency. They offer all types of personal insurance as well as various types for business. Call or email First State Insurance Advisors today. We want to be your trusted choice agency.
Acre Station Meat Farm, along with Lane Angus Beef, bring you Farm to Fork Beef.
Stock your freezers now with affordable beef boxes, just in time for the grilling season.
Farm to Fork Beef brings quality local beef to your family. From your traditional butcher shop, Acre Station Meat Farm. Come on down to Acre Station Meat Farm and find out why we're #1 in fresh cuts and friendly service.
Acre Station Meat Farm, Highway 32 North, Pinetown. At National Finance, we're all about hometown support, just like ECU football. National Finance helps us win on and off the field. They've got your back when you need it most. Fast, easy personal loans for life's big plays. And just like us, they're committed to Eastern North Carolina. National Finance, proud supporters of ECU athletics. Visit nfcmoney.com for loans as fast as today.
Make every day electric on the Kawasaki Electro 20 electric balance bike. Maximize the fun with long run times, impressive top speed, and Kawasaki build quality. Easy adjustability and smooth handling make everyday riding more enjoyable. And the standard MTB type tires provide off-pavement capability. The Kawasaki Electro 20 is the electric balance bike that's built to rip. Go to Ron Ayers Motorsports, Memorial Drive north of the airport, Greenville.
Climb aboard as we set sail and hoist the colors. Back to the show with Steve and I go on 94.3 The Game.
All right, welcome back in. Hoist the Colors here on a Thursday. Getting closer to the ECU, almost said UNCW series, ECU Coastal Series. Pirates coming off a win over UNCW in the midweek. Let's talk some hoops, though. We've got the home finale tonight. East Carolina hosting Tulsa. At last check, the Golden Hurricane were a 9.5-point favorite. This will be the only meeting, unless they meet again in the tournament, between the Pirates and Golden Hurricane in basketball this year. ECU has actually owned this series in recent years. Tulsa has not been good until this season under head coach Eric Conkle, and now they come to Minges Coliseum. They are 23-6. They are 11-5. They will be motivated because they're playing for a chance to get a top 2 bye. Also in the net currently, they're probably definitely on the outside looking in, but they are 50th in the net. So they are within striking distance, maybe, if they win out, of getting an at-large berth. But probably going to have to win the tournament to get in. Most likely a one-bid league. South Florida right there is, 49. So Tulsa will come in motivated. They're favored. They're really good. They shoot 39% from three-point range as a team. David Green shoots 39.4% on 142 attempts. Miles Barnstable shoots 43% on 188 attempts from three-point range, not from the field. Tillin Riley shoots 40% from three. Aid Papalou, I don't think I pronounced that right, but either way, he shoots 42.4%. Jalen Lawal shoots 35%, and then they have Romad Dean, who shoots 37%. Basically, this entire team can shoot threes, and they score at a high rate. They're very good, and if they're hitting tonight, ECU is not going to win because they can't sustain that type of offensive efficiency on their end. So, simply put, they're going to have to defend the heck out of three-point line, Phillip, and that's something this team has not done great all year.
You're going to have to run them off three-point line. I think you want this to be a slow game. The tough thing about slow, low-possession games is threes do feel like they count for a little more. They count for more when it's 65-60 as opposed to 85-80. But with that being said, like I said, they scored efficiently. They can hit the transition three especially. If you get into a track meet, I think your odds of winning go down. If you can get into a knockdown, drag-out slugfest, work the ball inside, drain the shot clock, force them to drain their shot clock, you feel like you stand a chance. Then it's just, can you match them punch for punch down the stretch? But, yeah, track meet I don't think is good for ECU.
Tulsa has some size on its roster. They've got Tyler Berin, who's 6'10", 220. And they've got KJ Martin, 6'8", 225. David Green, 6'7", 225. And Ian Michael is 6'8", 242. But, I don't see anybody that is going to be able to contend with Gio Imajuru in the paint. Now, Gio has not played his best basketball lately, so this seems more like a team that is going to go 5 out. And, everybody, again, can kind of shoot the three to a degree. And I'm curious to see how ECU works that to their advantage on offense, but maybe how that's a disadvantage on defense, because we know Gio is not a perimeter defender. And if Berin's in the game, he started 29 games. He's kind of their big. He's taken just 22 threes, hit 5. He can do it, but he's not a three-point shooter. Does Tulsa try to go small and just go offensive? And can ECU get the ball to Gio? And for Gio, if he's listening, Gio, I love you, man. Don't put the ball on the ground. Just get the ball in the paint and go up with it. This guy, I love him to death. He drives me crazy, though, because every time he dribbles, it's a turnover waiting to happen. If he just catches the ball and goes up, he's unstoppable. Fundamental basketball. Come on.
Yeah, you don't need to get in triple threat, Gio. Yeah. Sometimes he grabs his offensive rebounds and brings them down, just go straight back up. Yeah, but back to your question, I think they do. I don't think they think, like, as good of a player as Gio is, like you said, he hasn't been as good down the stretch. And, like, I think even if they sacrifice something there defensively on the interior, they feel that they can outrun us enough on the perimeter that it won't matter. Now, Coach Schwartz this year has gone more to a true 2 low post player lineup because he finally, I think, has the personnel to do so. Usually Gio, Reed, and Eli, 2 out of the 3 are on the floor at one time. But with that being said, do you see more of a Luke Davis kind of situation maybe at the 4 because Luke is faster, is better on the perimeter? You trust him maybe in a run and gun type defense to go out there and contest shots. And then with that being said, do you put Eli maybe more at the 5? Eli not as athletic maybe as the Tulsa guys, but probably a little quicker, runs a little better than Reed or Gio.
And we've seen ECU play a lot of zone. I just don't know if you can sit back. I mean, you're going to have to really extend the zone and leave yourself vulnerable.
If you play zone, my goodness, they might all look like Steph Curry.
Yeah, I mean, maybe you try it early and just see how they come out. I mean, any road game, different venue, different, sight lines. Maybe they don't shoot as well early, but I just don't think you can sit back and zone in this game. So, I don't think you really have the depth of personnel to play man, but you just may be forced to have to play it. Kenny says in the chat that Pirates pull the upset tonight with Riley scoring 30+. He's going to have to score at least 30. You're going to have to play competent defense. And then, we saw Corey Calker. He's starting to come on. I think you need a big Gio or a big Dimitri Gardner game, maybe all 3 tonight to win this game. I think Tulsa is really good.
I think so. Unless by some miracle you really do slow it down and get a knockdown, drag out, grind it out kind of game. But I still think they're going to do everything they can to speed you up. With that being said, man, Corey looks better when he's playing off ball if it's a half-court offense. I like him as the point guard in transition offense. I think he runs it better than anybody else on the floor. However, he becomes a great facilitator, but it kind of takes away his scoring ability when he is the on-the-ball guard. And he tends to be the on-the-ball guard in transition. So, with that being said, if it is a fast-paced game, I think it's going to have to be kickouts to, obviously, Jordan, Gio, and then some outside-in game maybe to Dimitri would be the other kick out, then some outside-in game to Gio.
Tulsa, by the way, 86 points per game is what they're averaging. 29th best offensive rating in the country per Kim Baum. So they're going to put up some points most likely unless ECU can find a way to slow it down. Standings-wise, North Texas beat Rice last night. That means ECU went from 12th to 11th place in the standings. We're 1 game out. Here's the beauty about tonight, Philip. If ECU wins at 7 o'clock and they pull the upset, and if Memphis loses to USF, which is leading the conference, that's a 9 o'clock tip, by the way, on ESPN2. At the end of the night, if those 2 things happen, ECU will be in the conference tournament if the season ended today, if those 2 things occur. So I'm just saying, we ran all the scenarios, and that would put ECU in the field, and then I think if they won out at that point, they'd get in. I'd have to double-check some things due to tiebreaker procedures, but it's becoming more possible. After North Texas' win over Rice last night, ECU can no longer catch North Texas, but it does help them as far as passing Rice because Rice closes with UTSA, and we all know what UTSA is.
Yeah.
A horrific basketball team.
The tough thing is Temple and Tulane play tonight, so one of those teams is going to lose that game, and that's going to send them down there kind of into some multi-way tiebreakers. Because I think both those teams are sitting on 8 wins, if I remember correctly.
So, Tulane is 8-8, Temple 7-9.
Okay.
And then Memphis also 7-9.
Yeah, so you're better off probably just having
Temple win, I think.
Yeah. How many are we at? We at 6?
ECU is 6-10.
Yeah,
Memphis
that would just go
7-9.
ahead and give both those teams 8 wins, kind of getting them out of the picture of a multi-way. Well, not
any tiebreaker that features Tulane and Temple is not going to play to ECU's advantage.
Okay.
But Temple, if they were to lose out and ECU were to win out, they could jump Temple.
Yeah.
But
We got swept, yeah.
Yep. So we'll continue to run through those scenarios again. We'll have a very clear picture after tonight, as there will only be one conference game left for every team. And if ECU wins tonight, it becomes very real, the possibility to make the conference tournament. It's going to be very tough, but I expect the Pirates to come out tonight with their hair on fire. They've got a tall task. We'll see if they can keep pace with Tulsa, but it should be an interesting game in Minges Coliseum. We'll get a break in. We'll come back. We got a question in the chat we've got to answer to close the show. We'll do that after this.
You know what the problem is with standard belts? Usually you have to choose between too tight or the opposite, too loose. But with Anson Belt and Buckle, you don't have to choose. We got rid of the holes and instead have a track system designed for micro adjustability. That way you can enjoy a perfect fit every time. Anson Belt and Buckle. Find your perfect fit today.
Daughtridge Gas and Oil has been your dependable propane supplier for 95 years. Their trained technicians can service and properly install all your propane and natural gas appliances. Plus, Daughtridge Gas and Oil is your backyard expert with fire pits, grills, smokers, and more, including quality outdoor furniture at their Greenville Patio and Hearth Shop at 1901 Charles Boulevard. Go by and see the knowledgeable staff at Daughtridge Gas and Oil for propane delivery or call 756-1345.
Other restaurants claim their food is fresh and fast, but are they friendly? At Moore's, you're treated like family the minute you walk into their doors. With locations in Winterville, New Bern, Swansboro, Morehead City, and Jacksonville. We've been practicing what we preach since 1945. At Moore's, our barbecue is slow cooked and smoked over real wood daily until it's so tender it's falling off the bone. Combined with our fresh chicken, cooked to order seafood, and homemade fixins, we're sure you'll agree. If it's not Moore's, it's less.
Your confidence makes everything look good. You see the world in vivid color, not black and white. Swing through your neighborhood Fantastic Sam's Cut in Color and let our experienced stylists take you from everyday to extraordinary.
Fantastic Sam's hair salons are locally owned and operated. Our full-service salons are conveniently located in Goldsboro, Kinston, Greenville, New Bern, Jacksonville, and Calabash. Stop in today at Fantastic Sam's, where the possibilities are endless.
You have a choice when you invest in insurance, and when you choose First State Insurance Advisors, you're working with people you can trust. Clark Stallings has deep ties in the community. His team, including Keaton Smith, Regina Asby, Phil Leyva, Max Joyner Jr., Max Joyner III, and Ginger Smith, provides knowledgeable and professional advice. First State Insurance Advisors is an independent insurance agency. They offer all types of personal insurance as well as various types for business. Call or email First State Insurance Advisors today. We want to be your trusted choice.
We're live with Steve and Igo on 94.3 The Game.
Hoist the Johnny Roger!
Now, back to Hoist the Colors.
All right, welcome back in Hoist the Colors. Final few minutes of the show. John White was in the chat. He had a question for Mully earlier. Couldn't get to it with Mully before we got him out of here, but we'll answer it. Do our best Mully impersonation. ECU is averaging around 6 runs a game, John White says. Even with the great pitching they have, will that cut it, Mully? So, 6 runs, I guess in college baseball doesn't sound like that much, but if you could sign me up for 6 runs, specifically every weekend game in conference play in this Coastal Series, which I expect to be pretty low scoring, I think I would take it. 6 runs isn't lighting the world on fire, but with this pitching staff, to me, probably going to have an ERA around 4. I think you're going to win a lot more games than you lose.
Yeah. I mean, ideally, you'd like to see it go up, I think, a smidge just because you're going to play probably some crap teams in the midweek and maybe some crap arms on Sunday where you can really open it up. And if you do have a few of those open up opportunities, you don't want to still stay at 6 because you want to be scoring a little, that would have you only scoring like 3 or 4 on Friday and Saturday. But, if you stay at 6 and it's consistently 6 through all 4 days of the week, yeah, I think you feel good. There's not a lot of huge bats in this conference other than we were mentioning it earlier, UTSA, or we were mentioning it during the break. So, yeah, I think 6. I mean, yeah, I'd like to see it go up a smidge. You always want to be better, but I don't think you're in a bad spot if it's 6.
And look, obviously, we know averaging 6 runs doesn't mean you score 6 every game. There's going to be some you score 9, some you score 3. But just like looking at the schedule, one loss to Xavier was 4-3. That would be a win if you scored that many. A 2-1 loss to Campbell obviously would be a win if you could score 5 or 6. Now, the Carolina game, you lost 10-0. That was going to be a loss either way. Same thing with the 9-3 loss to Xavier, although that one did get away late. The 3-3 tie, maybe if you get some more offense early there, you win. Maybe you were on track to score 6 runs, who knows. And then the 2-0 loss to Western, you get a little offense in that game. You have a win. So you'd have maybe, 2 losses right now total if you were scoring, just hammering out 6 runs a game. So.
Yeah. And is there any game, Stephen, that we scored more than 6 that we would have lost if we scored exactly 6?
That is a great question. I'm seeing there's a lot of high-scoring games for ECU that they win. 12, 11, 10, 8-7. They beat Charleston. Troy, they won 5-2. Rutgers 14-2. UNC Wilmington 5-3.
So really, the Charleston game would be the one maybe you flip.
Yep. So, all right, there you have it. We did our best. I don't know if we answered the question at all, but I feel like we're fine with it. I think yes, it is enough as this team is constructed on the mound. All right, we have to get out of here. The show is over. We'll be back Friday, 12 noon. Bobby Harward in studio will preview the Coastal Carolina series more in depth and a whole lot more. Talk Pirate basketball. We'll see you then Friday, 12 noon. Thanks for listening.